I believe we can start now. For those of you who are not familiar with me, I am Ivan Kravtsov, Senior OSINT Analyst at the OSINT unit of Social Links. And today we're going to be exploring the topic of applications of modern open source intelligence methods in investigating financial crime. And before we go to the main part, we're going to introduce ourselves a little bit for people who are new to our events. So we are Social Links. We are a global OSINT solutions software developer since 2015. We currently have 100+ employees, 3 offices, with HQ being in the United States, the European HQ in Netherlands, and an R&D center in Latvia. We have received multiple industrial awards. We are represented on sources such as Gartner Peer Insights, G2, and Frost & Sullivan industrial reports. And we pride ourselves as developing some of the most cutting-edge investigative and intelligence software in the industry. Our geography, the geography of our clientele is very much distributed. So those numbers here are a bit outdated. We have more than that number of clients now, but we do have them in 80+ countries all across the globe. Our existing product portfolio consists of Social Links Professional that is used with Maltego and with I2 Analyst Notebook, on which we are going to be presenting our today's cases, the Social Links API, and an on-premise variation of Social Links Professional, and the recent product that we have just released and that we are starting to present to the public, which is an all-round analytical platform with an emphasis on open source intelligence, but it is quite universal. That is Social Links Primal. I will drop a link to our promo video on YouTube in case some of you are interested, and perhaps further, if you would be interested, we can discuss how that can be implemented into your organization. Now, our solutions cover the full cycle of investigation, starting from the phase of initialization to the stage of gathering and the stage of structuring and further subsequent analysis, reporting, and dissemination of intelligence material. So now we are going to go through the actual cases that we will be discussing today. And at first, we will also have a brief technical intro into the software on which we are going to be presenting this. Now, case 1 will be related to a Canadian cryptocurrency exchange called Quadriga CX, where the CEO has mysteriously disappeared with the funds deposited by the clientele being frozen and not available for any other employee, and then subsequently died several days after while being on a trip in India. And another one is going to be related to the 1MDB financial scandal in Malaysia, related to the previous prime minister. So yes, great to see that we have a lot of people. I understand that we're going to have many questions during the course of the session. Mostly, we're going to be answering them closer to the end. So here we have an overall schema of our understanding of financial crime and its areas of relevance, which includes obviously due diligence, where the key objects of research would be the key people and related organizational entities, anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism, regulatory compliance, corporate misgovernance instances, cryptocurrency investigations to some extent, and the financial aspect of researching organized crime groups, which is especially important in the research of so-called subversive crime. Now, while we are not specialized in forensic accounting or financial intelligence or things like that, I myself am not a professional in those specific fields, but we do specialize in OSINT. We do communicate a lot with our customers and sometimes help with cases. We do listen to the industry and the trends and the technological trends. So what we advocate for is what could be called a 360 approach to financial crimes, where the key entities to start research would be individuals, organizations, and assets. Now to go on to the brief technical intro. The gentleman owning this name, Mr. Gerald Codden, was the CEO of the Quadriga Exchange mentioned a few minutes ago. Here we have several pieces of personal data related to them. One of them retrieved through Darkel, which is one of our data partners, quite good for working with personal data. So several email addresses and one phone number. What we're going to do now is enrich those identifiers and see what kind of data we can procure about this specific individual within the scope of a minute or two, and further see how we can potentially deepen that. So this particular project, this particular exchange was started by Mr. Codden almost instantly after he has dropped out, after he has finished university, with a partner, Michael Patron, who was further revealed to actually have the real name Omar Danani, and having been previously related to incidents of financial crime. This person has gone missing, and many people do believe him to be alive and having some kind of access to the client's funds. And what we start seeing here from the email addresses are further pieces of identifying data. So those are old broad locations. Those are platforms where the user has had an account registered, and that account currently exists in connection to that specific email. Those are additional email addresses. Those are usernames, one of them being Scepter99, under which Mr. Cotton has had an account on a platform called Black Hat World, which was last accessed in 2019, already after his stated death. There is also an additional phone number, an IP address, and several accounts within Skype. So the next input for our subsequent search would be the phone numbers after we have extracted everything that we could from the initial input. In case some of you are wondering, this webinar is going to be available in the recorded version on our official YouTube channel. So now what we go through further is the enrichment of the phone numbers. And additionally, into the data that we can potentially get from the Google IDs. Yes, perhaps we're going to come back to this part further in our today's presentation. For now, we will go into the next graph that we have that is related to Mr. Denani, also known as Mr. Patron, and 3 known usernames of the individual in question, as well as an Ethereum address. While we are not focused on cryptocurrency investigations and that aspect of the topic during today's session and in general as a vendor, there are some basic capabilities that it would be quite useful to know for people working within that field professionally. So the basic principle is that with some exceptions such as Monero and Zcash, there is a good benefit to the blockchain of all of this data being open, and thus by an analyst diligent enough to examine all of the connections, to examine the flow of the funds if it can be called that, if it can be referred to in that way in the context of cryptocurrency, can be good for uncovering insights and was instrumental in some of the most resonant cryptocurrency cases, such as the Silk Roads, Alphabay, Welcome to Video, and other ones. Now, further, usernames are also valid inputs, and especially this one as the most frequently used. So from this, we get an account within Instagram. Further, we may see whether there is an account sharing the same face in its profile picture and the same username or name using facial recognition. And here, this does give us several profiles, which may not all be genuine. And how we can establish that is we can look at the pattern of a behavior of the account. So see how active is it? Does it exhibit the kind of behavior that is customary to a genuine account? What kind of posts does it upload? Who from other profiles within this particular social media platform does it communicate with, and so on. Additionally, we can go, of course, into other types of sources, such as dark web sources. So we can try to run the query into the Tor network to see whether there were any accounts existing under those usernames associated with the person in question. And we can use darkal for a specified search into not just Tor, but also Freenet, ZeroNet, and I2P. Now, what would be important here is to show one of our stronger sides, which is in-depth social network analysis. We have had at some moment a joint webinar with one of our one of the users that has been using our software for some time, who has spoken openly about a case that they have actually solved, where social link software was instrumental, and that was the Federal Police of Belgium, and they were looking at a large money laundering case, and what was specifically instrumental was the deep analysis of communications and relations between people. So this person is not related to any kind of case. This person is not a criminal. This person we are using as a sample. It is a management consultant at Roland Berger in Germany. Here we have an account within Facebook. What we can do first is run cross searches in in the same way as we did now with the previous individual, who was more interesting in that respect. And of course, we can extract friends of the user and the connections that they have. But what we can do additionally is to extract the content that the user has been tagged in by other users, the pages that they have liked, the content that they have posted, the groups that they are a part of. Now, after we have extracted those entities, we can further look at their original offers if those were not related to the person we were researching at first, who has commented on them, who has interacted with them in any way, who has reposted them, and who has reacted. This can give us insights on whether there is a pattern of the user communicating with a certain other user or a group, a cluster of other users, more so than with other ones. We can apply conditional formatting features here that can, depending on how we configure them, may make an entity appear larger or a different color than other entities if it matches a certain criteria. For instance, whether it is more interconnected within the specific network that we are looking at the moment. So yes, that was another intro into the principles of social network analysis within those types of solutions. Now, the second instance, which we are going to be using as an example today, is the 1MDB case, which was one of the largest financial scandals in modern history, as evaluated by many professionals working within the field. That was related to an embezzlement of a number of $1 million from Malaysian government development funds. And part of those funds actually found their way into the budget for the production of the film Wolf of Wall Street, which was, among other things, also on the topic of financial crime, which is quite ironic. And here the key actors were the previous prime minister of Malaysia, some of their relatives, a financier named Joe Low, who is currently a fugitive with an issued Interpol red notice, a small US-based studio, Red Granite Pictures, and its proprietor. So here we're going to demonstrate how an analyst can work with corporate sources in that scope. Among those, what we're going to use are open corporates, the British Companies House, and the ICAJ offshore leaks. Quite informative for working with entities such as those. So first, initially, we're going to look for offshore entities available within the ICAJ's data sets. We're going to look into the companies with appointments of this specific person and companies where this person is stated to have a significant degree of control within the British Companies House. And we're going to look into the stated correspondence addresses and officers of those open corporate entities here. Among other things, we get a name of Reza Aziz, which is also a relative of the previous Malaysian prime minister, who was very important in this case. We get an offshore entity on Mohammed Nazifuddin bin Mohammed Najib, from which we can further get other related entities and other related offshore officers. So those principles are quite applicable to every kind of source, every kind of aggregator, every kind of platform that has a good, stable, working public API. And we can further deepen and expand this in any direction that we deem necessary within the scope of the particular task at hand before the analyst. Another one, which is going to be somewhat crypto-focused, but in general also about overall OSINT that we're going to be looking at, is related to an inner cold storage wallet of one major exchange, which we can see in this attributional graph, where we see a number of addresses being related to several possible categories of actors, such as militant extremist groups, Tor network drug dealers, or legitimate exchanges. This specific address, which has the widest scope of diversity of descent within the particular graph, allegedly belongs to the Binance exchange, according to a tweet that was famously posted by the CEO of Binance in respondence to accusations from the late Mr. John McAfee, who was saying that the exchange was hacked and did not notify its clientele about it. And what is interesting is that it did have transactions related to it did have transactions that were also related to some of the addresses belonging to very interesting types of actors here, such as the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham in Syria and the Al-Qassam brigades within Palestine, and other types of actors of a similar degree of interest. It is featured in multiple hot discussions within Twitter, most of the messages with quite negative sentiment, and in the existing data from Tor network dark web sources, specifically in relation to the exit scam of the administration of the Wall Street market, where it has been stated by one of the users on the Dread forum here that some of those funds are now moving to this Binance address. Also, we can see an existing investigation with several addresses that have been verifiedly belonging to the Al-Qassam brigades related to Hezbollah, with which this address has also interacted, with those addresses being quite discussed in multiple Telegram groups, which we can see here, as well as in Twitter, and in multiple scam reports on different industrial sources and on Reddit. Now, this is an example of how an analyst can do an all-round research, not focusing specifically on social media or on corporate or on crypto, but on multiple categories of data at once. We're going to take a brief break now to look at several depersonalized cases of our customers that they have permitted us to share, which are somewhat related to today's topic in question. So one of those was related to a large fraud case, which a user of Social Links was tasked to investigate, and our products were included into the tactics, techniques, and procedures that they have applied. So there were 3 individuals. The case further became an object of an international law enforcement agency collaboration, which was augmented by a physical surveillance program mounted in addition to the open source intelligence methods. The data successfully established for the individuals has included their previous rented addresses, favored meeting locations, recent travel history, and current locations. And the case itself, where our client was involved, of which they were a part, has spanned multiple countries, as we can see here. Another one was conducting a due diligence procedure for a sovereign wealth fund of the Middle Eastern country, which they have requested to be quite in depth. The customer was tasked to conduct that. They have used Social Links. And the desired result of the due diligence was to achieve a deeper level of understanding about the current and former shareholders of the company in question to make an informed investment decision. In the context of the specific task at hand, their previous approach was to find a certain yes, so to ascertain a certain thing, as opposed to getting a no, which could be called an eliminative approach. And in the yes approach, that would normally take them many weeks. In the second one, where Social Links was quite instrumental, that has, by their words, by their statement, has taken them no longer than 48 hours, which led to save time and money for the customer, which has resulted in further retained cooperation. So that's one of the examples of our products being successfully used in due diligence. Now, this can be applied in many ways. We're going to go through an example of how open source intelligence and automated methods and systems of automation can be used for an all-around assessment of the digital footprint, not of an individual, but of an organization. An example that we're looking here is a Canadian company, Standard Lithium. And there are multiple directions that we can take. That would include working with corporate sources in the same way as we have shown a few minutes ago. That would also include working with social media data and, among other things, social media activity related to a specific location, which can be offices, which can be production buildings, and which can be even residential addresses. That can be customized Google searches, such as looking for a specific type of file or a specific type of keyword using different types of logical operators. Yes, and currently my colleague is also launching a poll, which we encourage you to participate in. That would be quite helpful for us. Thank you very much. Also, specified social media searches, such as with a narrowing down criteria of a time frame or of a location, such as what we're looking at here, Standard Lithium, Vancouver, within February of 2022, and multi-directional keyword-based searches. As well as, of course, domain and network infrastructure for DNS intelligence. Now, our products are artificial intelligence powered. That is not something that we rely on in a major way, but we do have some computer vision functionality, which is quite useful for the investigator, as well as some text analysis functionality. We're not going to go through this at length, just some examples of using facial recognition, which might be useful in general people-focusing aspects of investigations. In one instance here, we're looking at a media person advocating for the support of an extremist group within Syria. In one other instance, we are looking at a C-level executive of a US software company. In one other, a fugitive with an issued Interpol red notice and a 10-year-old but still existing Twitter account. We can search by a face and a name, which is quite efficient, but we can also additionally search by a face and profile and face and location, which is shown here with several examples that we have shown in the previous webinar, which we've had with Mr. Gary Ruddle. Also, another existing feature is the detection of automobiles or firearms on imagery, as we can see in some of those images here, with a probability rate also specified on the links. And in terms of text analysis, what we have is the detection of aggressive speech and also a summarization of topics using the production of OpenAI and the evaluation of object-specific sentiment within the scope of some social media data or in general text data, such as what we are looking at here now, which is related to the Instagram reflection of a discourse around a territorial dispute between Japan and South Korea. And named entity recognition, which we hope will be more advanced and fully implemented into the new solutions that we produce. Right now, we're looking at an individual sanctioned by the Office of Foreign Assets Control of the US government. And we have identified several names of affiliates. From all of those, we further pivoted into sources such as WikiLeaks, OCCRP, Aleph, general search engine searches, and Sanctions Explorer, and further use named entity recognition to extract the key entities from the text, which ideally, after doing some filtering, results in kind of a weighted map of relations between entities in a broad sense of the word, with ranged levels of importance. So thank you very much for your attention. Now we're going to go through a brief Q&A session. So please feel free to ask your questions, and I will right now be answering those that we have in the Q&A. Great platform and demonstration. Thank you very much. In a case where a company, maybe the CFO, receives a scam email, can we do intelligence on the sender? How deep can we go? The idea is prevention of paying a huge amount of money to another bank account. That sounds like a very interesting case, and that is something that some of our clients do deal with in the area of corporate security. I must say that if the actor here, the scammer, knows what he's doing, it is not very likely for that email to have a lot of data connected to it specifically. But what we could do is of course try to work with that email, try to work with the possible contents of that email, and also additionally perform an assessment of the attack surface and the digital representation of the supposed CFO. And what I'm trying to say is that this can assist in the investigation of the incident and in the mitigation of further such possible incidents. But as we're limited on time here, if you would like to discuss this in more detail, how we can help you with this specific case, we would be glad to schedule a personal meeting. Thank you very much. Okay. How accurate is this database? Has there been any instances showing any inaccuracy in the database of this tool? A very important thing to outline is that what I have been showing now is not a database. All of the data that we work with, except for instance, the Dark-L integration, which works with historical data, and with the dark web scrapers, it is real time. It is not something that we store on our servers somewhere. And it is quite accurate. False positives can happen, as any software can malfunction at any given moment, but we do have a part of our dev team that is dedicated specifically to maintaining and fixing issues if they arise. Thank you for the question. How experienced would you say a team would have to be to use the platform? I would say that this specific one that I have been working with now, Maltigo, is something that has been built by engineers for engineers, so not all people feel 100% comfortable with it. The same thing can be said about I2 Analyst Notebook. We do have courses for regional partner organizations that help the user get acquainted with the tool, with the platform itself, and then our software on top of that platform. And the product that I have mentioned at the beginning of the slide deck, CrimeWall, is would certainly require less experience on average from a team member to be able to use it efficiently. What do I have to do to get lifelong access to that tool? Thank you very much for the question. I really suggest you write to our corporate email, and we can discuss that. And is this a platform we would expect a whole team to make use of, or do you see more cases for individual investigators? That depends on the organizational configuration of the unit, actually. So, for instance, there could be a degree of specialization of particular individuals within the team. So in some instances, there is one or two analysts within the team who are working specifically with this solution and other similar solutions in their toolkit. with other team members specializing in other types of procedures. So there would definitely be some degree of strategic alignment of this functionality, which is quite powerful to the goals, but configurations can be different. How compatible are these solutions with other options in the market? The solution that I was showing specifically is very compatible with Maltego and i2 Analyst Notebook. And we also do have an API offering, can be which can be integrated into other platforms, into other proprietary systems. So quite compatible in general. Is it possible to obtain data about social media accounts if the account is set to private? It is to an extent. We won't be able to extract as much, but there are still some identifiers such as the Facebook ID, such as the screen name, the username, potentially a picture, especially if it is a photograph. So we can cross-search into different sources from that, and those sources do not necessarily have to be social media. Where do we recommend studying a master's degree on cybersecurity, or even more, a master's in OSINT? That's a very interesting question. Uh, what I would definitely say is that I'm not sure if there are any institutionalized programs in traditional educational institutions with a focus on open source intelligence. People who come into that field tend to come with already having a background in other types of expertise. So it's not necessarily technical. It's not necessarily computer science or cybersecurity. It can be people that come from a policing background. It can be people coming with from a law or finance background, or something like political science, social sciences, that type of thing. What I would definitely suggest is looking up the courses of, well, for instance, of gentlemen such as Michael Bazell, or organizations such as SANS. Those can be quite good. And of course, many publicly available free video materials on YouTube, but you really have to filter which ones are more quality. Do we have to be a government agency? I assume what you mean is, do you have to be a government agency to be eligible for using our software? No, not necessarily. We have many clients among private investigators and among private security practitioners, and in the corporate security departments of commercial entities, as well as journalists, research organizations, academical institutions, and other types of people that are not government agencies. How quickly can you harvest 5,000 Facebook friends and 10,000 Twitter followers? It's really quite quick. I can show that in a couple of minutes from now. But the question is, the way we see it, the question is not harvesting that. So we close that aspect of the work for the analyst. The question is further making sense of those 5,000 Facebook friends and those 10,000 Twitter followers. That can be harvested in under 1 minute using just one transform. Is there any internship programs in social links? Those do come up from time to time. I'm not sure we have any now, but you can follow. First of all, you can follow the section of our site which is OSINT jobs, and it lists open positions in many respected organizations in the field. And you can follow our corporate LinkedIn profile, where if an internship appears at a specific moment, it will be visible. Does social links allow to analyze LinkedIn activity? Thank you for this session. Yes, definitely. We'll also go that as we'll resume the technical demonstration part to answer a few of the questions. Yes, so just a minute. Will I get that tool for free? Sorry, but no. You should start teaching A 6-month OSINT program on Andrew Tate's Real World University. Well, of all people, Mr. Andrew Tate and the Real World University, yes, so it sounds like a fun thing to do, definitely. Thank you for the suggestion. What information are the hardest to gather? That really does depend. We can reorient this at what type of intelligence is hardest to gather, because there are many ways to extract just raw data, and it's not as difficult to turn it into information to process it initially. But how to really make sense of that, how to draw analytical conclusions, and how to draw actionable intelligence is more difficult than harvesting data. Sometimes personal data can be difficult to harvest among people who are conscious about their digital footprint. Okay, so now we're going to go back into Maltego sharing modes to demonstrate the extraction of Twitter followers and working with LinkedIn profiles. Let's see, I believe this person did have accounts within LinkedIn and within Twitter both. So we do see Twitter, and let's set to 4K, see how many followees or followers we can extract. Well, those were extracted in a matter of just 3 seconds. I can assure you it wouldn't be much longer if it may be a little longer if there was in the range of thousands of followers and followees. Yes, and here we get the LinkedIn account. The principle of working with this would be quite similar to what you have seen already with Facebook and with Twitter. So we can look at the static data of the account, such as what the person has posted about their CV, what is their stated location, what is the stated alma mater, what organizations are they stating to have worked for previously. We can look into details of those organizations as well as their posts, current and past employees. And what is more interesting is how we can go through the posts for social network analysis purposes, as we have shown already within Facebook. While that's loading, we'll be looking at some other questions. Do we adapt data from Sentinel Visualizer? Been using that tool for a while and see the benefits of using it and social links. At this moment, no. It is true that there are benefit of many solutions can be intercomplementary between one another. So we don't currently work with Sentinel, but yes, quite possible that it would be good. And some of our customers do tend to use multiple solutions at once, even of the same class. How can I pull more information about a cyber fraudster who has harmed a person close to me? Uh, if you would really be interested in that, then I suggest contacting us at an email address that will be visible at the end of today's session. Yeah, so this goes to the question on LinkedIn. The same basic principle that is applied to other platforms, which has already been demonstrated today. Okay, can we please focus on Telegram OSINT? In the scope of today's topic, which is financial crime, we can show a brief example that we did show already previously with Mr. Samuel Bankman-Fried. So just a few seconds. That can show how we can work with Telegram in general, among other things. So Telegram is a messenger, but at this moment, it's something more interesting than a messenger. It's a messenger-based social media platform with communities, with channels, with open groups, with closed groups, and that uh, constitutes a number of vulnerabilities that are not software vulnerabilities. That's our social infrastructure vulnerabilities. So people tend to communicate with other people. They sometimes do that openly, and many things can be potentially discerned from that. So right now we're looking at this account here that was historically connected to the phone number. The functionality that I'm demonstrating at the moment is something that we provide as an optional acquisition for law enforcement agencies. So we can see the timestamps of when the person was last online, when was the last update, and their broad location. And we can further look into the groups and the groups the person has messaged in, as well as some other types of data. Those are the groups in question listed in the box. Further, we can select all of them or specific communities matching a certain pattern and look into the administrators and owners and participators and messages within those groups, but mostly they have to be public for that. If you're really interested in how this works and how this can be applied to your professional purposes, again, write us an email. What would be the aim of applying OSINT, for example, in the social media? In the scope of financial crime or criminal investigations in general, that would be looking through establishing the fact or disproving the fact of connections that people may have between one another, of interactions, of joint business ventures, business ventures in a broad sense of the word that may include criminal business ventures also, to ascertain or disprove a certain train of thought or a certain number of facts within the whole factor of the investigation at hand. But it's that purpose does vary very much from one domain of knowledge, one domain of expertise, one domain of professional activity to other ones. But the general principles are in most instances the same. Okay, then. So time to go to the last part of our today's presentation. Now, one of the departments, one of the units within our company is our Center of Excellence, where I work among other people. And we are a team of OSINT specialists with different backgrounds, with different specifications. We conduct investigations and we help to conduct investigations to some of our clients, or in some instances, but those have to be really impactful and interesting on a pro bono basis. Our goal is to improve the products, improve the user experience, develop the inner expertise within the company, and further share it within the professional field within all of the industries to which open source intelligence is relevant. You can, if you're interested to do some kind of work with us, to submit a certain request, to discuss how the products of the company can be applied to your specific use cases, you can contact us at the email address specified in this part of the PowerPoint, which is osint@sociallinks.io. What are some recent advancements or unique features that set this tool apart from others in the field of OSINT? That would be the diversity of sources. So today we have been showing a lot of social media, but that's far from being the only thing that we have. There's also dark web, there's also corporate, there's also data scrapes. There is also multiple custom methods with the possibility to apply specifications. There is our own understanding from years of experience from communicating and working together with our clients. And there are also advanced methods for processing the data, mostly AI-based. And there are also the analytical features such as timelines, maps, and tables, and different ways to work with them in our new solution, which is SocialLinks PrimeWall. Okay, great. Seems like that would be it for today. Thank you all very much for your time and for visiting our event. Uh, we hope, of course, to see you on future events of the same kind. We will cover, as usual, many different interesting topics in the upcoming year of 2024. So wishing all of you a productive end of the week, a productive and successful end of the year, and we'll be glad to see you soon. Thank you.